as you reach into a low cabinet, and for a second, one foot goes light and unsteady. But here's what nobody tells you. A therapist would clock that instantly. Stay, and you'll know your real number by the end. I'm Atlas Reed. Subscribe. You belong here. Point 1. Somewhere in the next 10 seconds, you're going to find out something about your body that most men over 60 never get told. Not by a doctor, not by a trainer, not until after it's already cost them something. Here's the problem nobody names out loud. The thing that actually predicts whether you go down on a wet floor has almost nothing to do with how strong you are. 1 in 4 older adults report falling at least once a year. That's not a rare event. That's a coin flip repeated across a room of 4 men. And most of those men could bench more than their grandsons. And this isn't spread evenly across genders either. Men account for somewhere between 81 and 89% of ladder fall injuries treated in emergency departments nationwide. That's not a coincidence. That's decades of men treating balance as beneath their attention, right up until the moment it wasn't. Balance runs on 3 separate systems: your inner ear, your eyes, and the sensors in your feet and joints that tell your brain where the ground is without you thinking about it. Think of it like a 3-legged stool. You don't need all 3 legs to fail for the stool to go over. You just need one to get a little wobbly and the other 2 stop being able to cover for it. Point 2. Balance doesn't fail all at once. It fails one system at a time, quietly. Vision first usually, then the inner ear, then the sensors in the feet, until one ordinary afternoon asks for more than what's left. That decline has a clinical name, Presbyastasis, and it's not something that shows up on a chart at your annual physical. This is what doesn't get checked at a normal physical, not because it doesn't matter, but because nobody asks. You could pass a full blood panel and still be one bad step from the floor. It doesn't help that muscle mass declines 3 to 8% per decade after your physical peak, and that decline accelerates again after 60. The very stabilizers your legs would use to catch a stumble are quietly thinning out in the background, not enough to notice day to day, until the day it's not enough. Here's where it gets useful. Physical therapists don't guess at who's at risk. They use a specific test. Stand on one leg, unsupported, and time it. 10 seconds is the number the research keeps landing on. Hold that for 10 seconds and your measured fall risk drops meaningfully compared to men who can't. Not 15 minutes of cardio, 10 seconds on one foot. Try it right where you're sitting in your head for a second. Could you actually hold that? Most men assume yes and haven't tested it since high school gym class, which is exactly the mechanism the next part of this is built around. Point 3. Here's the part most balance content skips entirely. Knowing the test isn't the same as knowing what to do when you fail it. A 10-second hold isn't a starting point. For a lot of men over 60, it's a destination you build toward safely over weeks. Sound like a lot to figure out on your own? It shouldn't be, and it isn't. That's exactly why it's built as a progression, not a single instruction. Most men don't think about this until after it's already happened once. This is built for the men who'd rather find out now, on their own schedule, than find out the hard way. That's exactly the step-by-step, single-leg stance progression that, still standing after 60, the complete independent system walks through. From your first wobble with a hand on the counter, to 10 seconds unsupported, to variations that train your balance the way it actually gets challenged in daily life. It's linked in the description. If you're watching on TV right now, there's a QR code on screen. Scan it, and it'll take you straight there. Point 4. But here's what the single leg test alone won't tell you, and it's the part that actually determines whether you stay upright when it counts. A quiet stance in your living room is nothing like the moment your foot catches a curb you didn't see, or the dog cuts across your path, or you turn too fast toward a sound behind you. There's research behind every part of this, so nobody has to take it on faith. And the research on that split-second, off-balance recovery is where the real fall prevention numbers live. Reactive, perturbation-based training, the kind that trains your body to catch an unexpected stumble, not just hold a controlled pose, shows fall risk reductions ranging from 22 to 75%, largely in supervised settings. That's a different skill than the one you just tested, and most men have never trained it once in their life. And the cost of skipping it isn't abstract. Up to 39% of older adults report a real fear of falling, and that climbs as high as 73% among those who've already gone down once. That fear changes how a man moves before anyone else can see it. Shorter steps, a handout for furniture that used to be unnecessary, walks that quietly get shorter and less frequent. Nobody trains for that split second on purpose. Almost nobody's ever been taught how. So, before we go further, do this right now, wherever you're sitting or standing. Find something sturdy near you, a counter, a chair back, a wall. Lift one foot a few inches off the ground and time yourself out loud counting seconds. Don't round up. Note the real number. That number is your starting point, not a grade, not something to be embarrassed about, just data you didn't have 60 seconds ago. Point 5. Here's what all of this actually means, put together. A fall isn't bad luck, and it isn't really about strength. It's the visible end of a quiet 3-system decline that almost nobody checks for, tested by a 10-second exercise almost nobody's tried since gym class, and prevented by training that almost nobody's ever done on purpose. And this matters for more than your footing. Slower gait speed carries a 63% higher dementia risk, and weak grip strength tracks with a 43% higher risk. Same landmark study, over 19,000 adults. That's not a diagnosis, and it's not proof of cause and effect. It's an association worth taking seriously. Every rep of this isn't just insurance for your legs. It's attention paid to a system connected to more of you than you'd guess. The number you just found isn't a verdict. It's the first honest data point you've had on this in years. And now you know exactly what it's measuring and exactly what closes the gap between where you are and where you want to be. This is what independence actually looks like up close. Not a finish line, but a man who decided to find out where he stood, literally, before life decided for him. The next time you're down on the floor with a grandkid or reaching into a cabinet or walking somewhere uneven without a second thought, that's this moment, paying off quietly in the background the way it's supposed to. A man who tests this today, at whatever number he gets, is already ahead of the version of himself who never checked at all. That 10-second stance isn't a party trick. It's the same measure therapists use to predict who stays independent. The question is what you do with your number. Still standing after 60, the complete independence system turns that test into the full week-by-week progression, home safety audit, and fall recovery techniques a physical therapist teaches you after a fall. This is the kind of thing a physical therapist teaches after a fall. Here it is before one. Links in the description, QR codes on screen for TV viewers, last mention. Every year, this waits is a year those 3 systems keep declining quietly. That's the real cost, not a countdown, just time you don't get back. If this is the kind of training intelligence you want every week, subscribe. We put out videos weekly, and every one is built for men serious about staying independent. I'm Atlas Reed. Keep doing the work.